Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Sweet Spot. This is your host, Ryan Embry, and VP of Marketing here at Travel Media Group.
And I'm Cassidy Quintana, brand ambassador here at TMG.
And today we are fresh back from NYU IHIF 2026. My second time attending this incredible event. Cassidy, you're first. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought overall it was a great event, a lot of optimism, especially as we're heading into the summer season. So I thought, the conversations that we heard on the panels and the ones that we were having with people were awesome, and a lot of, good things coming out of that. I feel like the biggest topics that I heard, there were three major takeaways I took from a lot of the panels and people we were talking to, but one being that K-shaped economy that we've heard a lot about, right? We know that luxury is still outperforming while economy segments are feeling a little bit more of that pressure, especially as we head into this summer season and looking at some of those trends. And then I think one of the biggest topics we have been talking about since the beginning of this year is the World Cup and how international travel we thought was going to be booming. We were expecting a lot of busy hotels, but it's kind of been on the softer side. And we've actually seen international travel dip a bit. So I think right now we're kind of in that wait and see period of maybe, people are waiting to see if their teams make it out of the group stages and then they'll plan on booking a hotel. So keeping an eye on kind of that last minute travel. But the biggest topic that we were talking about a little bit last year, but the biggest one this year is AI and how hotels are using that within their systems. There's a lot of trends around using that for more personalization and being able to use it to look at your, revenue optimization and how you're performing online. So finding ways that we can use AI that doesn't take the hospitality out of hospitality and doesn't replace that human element. But that kind of went with that overarching theme of the entire event, which was sharpening the edge. So the thing I took from that is that the hotels that are really going to win are the ones that are understanding their guests and using AI to further that, to further get to know their guests, to make that experience a little bit better.
Yeah, we had some incredible conversations and interviews with some professionals that we're going to share here in a second. But just to kind of jump on what Cassidy's saying, we're at a really cool inflection point in our industry right now as we go gear towards the busy travel season. So it'll be interesting to see. We had the opportunity to meet with a development person from Minor Hotels who's looking to bring their brand into U.S. and Canada, which will be very interesting. We know how they have a huge global footprint, a lot of interest early on in getting into the Americas. We then visited with AHLA and Kevin Carey and his team doing such wonderful work over there, advocacy for our industry, and some really cool initiatives that we were able to sit down with Kevin for a few minutes and chat about. Jan Feitag from STR, our hotel data North Star and Compass, right? They just released a revised forecast for the hospitality industry. So we went over some major points of that revised forecast. And finally, we got the opportunity to sit down with President and CEO of Best Western, Larry Kukulik. What a wonderful conversation about the Best Western brand and how they are implementing some of that AI and technology into their brand and capitalizing on not only the World Cup, but also America 250. So wonderful insights that you're only going to find here on The Sweet Spot. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoy these exclusive interviews from NYU IHIF 2026. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Sweet Spot. We are live on location at NYU IHIF 2026 here with Jenna, the VP of U.S. and Canada Development for Minor Hotels. Jenna, thank you so much for taking the time to stop in the busy Big Apple and talk with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited about this show. A lot of energy, a lot of buzz. When you come to an NYU, talking to ownerships, a lot of capital here. What are the conversations kind of stem around, and what does a successful NYU show look like as you head back to your home base?
Sure. Successful NYU would really be finding some deals, perpetuating some deals, so hopefully advancing some opportunities. And it's really all about, for right now, because we're relatively new into the region, educating our owners and the broader development community. So, some of the players do already know us in the luxury space, but there's a lot of people we got to get out in front of and introduce Minor Hotels to.
And this is a great place and obviously great city to do that in. What has been kind of the feedback? I mean, you've been tasked with this enormous job. We have such a great brand, worldwide. You're bringing it here to U.S., Canada, North America. What have been some of those initial conversations and hearing that and initial interest and feedback from owners?
Yeah, we've had a lot of feedback and interest on Anantara. So some of our, established luxury brands that are pretty well known when you know the luxury hotel space in a global environment.
Sure.
So those owners have actually come to us saying, we're really excited about the opportunities here. So that's one piece. And then of course we have NH hotels, the NH Collection and NH, which are very well-known brands, especially in Mediterranean Europe and Central and South America. So there's excitement around that too.
Yeah. Does it help? I mean, having such an international, right? We got the World Cup here, right?
Yes.
In a couple of months. Are you kind of using that as maybe some momentum as you kind of come into and introduce this brand into the Americas?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of, I'm also educating Minor of the markets we want to be in. And so that's definitely helping as well and putting some places on the map.
And let's talk about that because there's been some announced projects already right here actually in New York. Talk about that project.
Yes. Thanks for asking too. We have a Wellesley hotel that's opening here next year. It's going to be super exciting because Wellesley is a restaurant brand that we are taking into the hotel space.
Love that.
So it's the first of its kind and nowhere better than to start in New York. It comes from London. So there's a lot of correlation between the two markets.
Yeah, one-of-a-kind hospitality venue and a one-of-a-kind city.
Exactly.
So, but another project we're really excited about, just because we're home-based, obviously, in Orlando, right down the road, a bright line away in Miami. Talk to us a little bit about that project and how that's different.
Yeah, that is, so it's a high-rise building built in Miami. Hasn't started construction yet, but it'll open in 2030. It'll be an Anantara hotel with branded residences, both private branded residences and ones that will be able to be rented to hotel guests as well. Super wellness oriented. There's going to be a really extensive spa, very experiential, wonderful for the residents that are going to be buying the residence.
Yeah, it's incredible. It sounds like you guys are really taking care of all of the kind of popular travel trends right now, right? F&B has really had this resurgence in hospitality with the project here. Wellness, obviously a huge piece of what hospitality is leaning into and what travelers are looking forward to. So having that flexibility between the brands too, I'm sure, is definitely a fun place to be when having these conversations with owners. But you talked about another project in Turks and Caicos. Turks
and Caicos, yes. So we have an Anantara in Turks and Caicos that I believe will open in 2029. So in order, we'll have one in New York next year and then 29 Anantara, Turks and Caicos, 2030 Miami.
Awesome.
So
no shortage of news on the Minor Hotel side. Congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
As you wrap up, I mean, what's your vision? What's your goal? As you bring Minor hotels into the North American region? Yeah,
well, if I think about next year at NYU, I hope more people are coming towards us.
Yeah.
Excited about us being a different brand, a different mindset. So we think of ourselves a little bit differently from the parent brands that are already established here because we have ownership still of most of our portfolio or release most of our portfolio. So I hope there's more inbound traffic coming towards my way. I hope people generally just walking down the street know us a little bit more. Certainly, White Lotus helped us with Anantara, so there's a lot of people who are diehard Anantara fans because of that. But that's what I'm hoping for, and eventually we'd love to have an office here. So as long as we do our work right, we get a strong pipeline, we'll be able to have an office, a regional office in North America.
Incredible. Well, super exciting. Can't wait to catch up on all the exciting projects that you have at Minor Hotels. This is the first of a couple collaborations we'll be doing with Minor Hotels, so make sure you stay tuned. Congratulations again, Jenna, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Sweet Spot. We are live on location in New York City at NYU IHIF. I'm here with Kevin Carey, President and CEO of the AHLA Foundation and COO of AHLA. Kevin, not your first time on The Sweet Spot. Appreciate you taking some time and joining me here today.
It's always a pleasure to spend time with you.
Yeah, it's fun. Incredible event so far. NYU, obviously AHLA, AHLA Foundation, Ford, has a huge presence here. What does when you come to the event like this, we always talk in hospitality, these events are always going to exist no matter what technology comes down the pike, because hospitality, we're people, right? We like connecting. What does a successful NYU IHIF look like for you and your team?
Well, it's always an important period of time in the year as we approach mid-year to check in with our members, to have that conversation about the advocacy issues we're leading on behalf of the industry, to hear how the business performance is tracking as well, and just to build enthusiasm and engagement for the events and the initiatives that we're leading, not only in the association, but with the foundation as well.
Yeah, and none more important than the No Room for Trafficking initiative that you and your team have done some fabulous work on. I mean, we have all sorts of brands up on stage sometimes with differing opinions here and there, but one cause that everyone in our industry has really gotten behind, and it's the work of you and your team, is this No Room for Trafficking. We always like to spread awareness of this. Talk to us a little about on that front and the progress you're seeing and making.
Well, this is a long-standing commitment that the industry has to human trafficking prevention and awareness. It started in 2019 with the development of the No Room for Trafficking initiative and its focus on training. It expanded in 2022 to include the Survivor Fund. So this is an area where HLA and the foundation specifically serves as a convening entity to bring the industry together, to rally around this important issue, to work to build awareness that'll drive prevention of human trafficking, and also to gather funds to help support survivors. So this is a commitment not only on a long-standing basis, but also on a going forward basis as well.
And such inspiring stories that you've told over the years, and people, hoteliers and other people listening to this can really get behind and encourage people to kind of look at that initiative. Another kind of initiative that you've done in these events, that when we're talking about these events, is Forward. We had a record-breaking attendance a couple months ago in the spring. Talk to us about how that is, and you actually have some of those the Forward initiatives here at NYU.
We do. Within the foundation, our mission is to advance the workforce of the industry, and we do that through a focus not only on the current workforce, those over 2 million associates and colleagues who deliver hospitality day to day, but also how do we attract the future workforce to the industry. I talked about being a convening entity. The foundation brings together the industry across all segments, and there's two areas where we believe we can make a difference. One is around human trafficking that we just spoke about, but also around the Forward initiative, which is geared towards, and its purpose is to advance women in the hospitality industry and in leadership roles in the hospitality industry. So we were delighted to host our most recent Forward conference in Atlanta back in April, and the results were outstanding, but really the momentum and the impact that Forward is having is really what has us so enthusiastic and committed to this initiative moving forward.
Yeah, that's got to be so cool to see industry leaders in hospitality raise their hands and want to be a part of this movement, and really see the results from that. So
it's grown from just being a conference that started in 2018 and had about 150 people at the first event to now over 1,100 attendees. But as it has expanded from a conference to a leadership development curriculum, and you mentioned the Forward Exchange, which took place here in New York earlier today, where it brought together over 100 early and mid-stage career and professionals, women and some men who were participating along with their peers to focus on networking and building those relationships so they can be well-suited and take on roles over time in the industry.
Really cool to see. And again, probably some incredible stories coming from that over the years as the initiative matures. One thing that hospitality in general really looking forward to, we got a big summer, right? We're usually really excited about summer just because of the travel season, kids being out of school. But this summer in particular, we've been looking forward to for a couple of years. We got World Cup on the horizon. Final will be played just a couple miles from here. And America 250. What are you kind of hearing from hoteliers, and how are AHLA really, gearing up for these big events showcasing our industry?
Well, these are really defining opportunities for the industry to support those guests, to welcome that demand, to drive the hospitality infrastructure over time. So there's a lot of enthusiasm around the potential that represents. And as we've seen on stage already today, the results in the first part of the year for the industry have been positive. A number of the outlooks are increasing. The RevPAR and ADR and other industry metrics. Here with these large events, we are still waiting to see some of the demand materialize, and we're in a critical period of time right now, about 10 days out before the games, to see that hopefully what will be a late surge in bookings then translate into further business success for the industry.
Yeah, hopefully see that international travel continue to come back to North America. A lot of hoteliers hoping for that. Zooming in a little bit on AHLA, summertime also, time for interns, right? Come in and, we've talked about this before. I mean, internships, mentorship in hospitality, so critical. I mean, throughout the years, we've had these staffing shortages, and we've talked about getting creative, our industry getting creative on ways to fill those roles, internships being one of them. Talk about a little bit about the AHLA internship program and what these interns are ready for this summer.
Well, it's not new. We've had a well-established program from a number of years now, and we're excited annually to bring a number of interns into our team across each function. We'll have an interns in the government affairs team, in marketing, in the foundation. It's so refreshing to engage them in our work, to see their enthusiasm about their future, to see them pick up valuable skills and experience of being in an office environment, learning more, and you know what, they have a real impact. They have some fun along the way as well. We have a wonderful session at the end where they get to present the results of some of the work and the initiatives that they've been working on. So it's an annual opportunity that we look very forward to, and they'll be starting just in about a week's time. So it'll be a great, another repeat event for us.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Again, any way that we can have more exposure to all sides of hospitality, because as we know, it's not just, the front desk. There's so many elements to it. And there's none more demonstrated by how big our hospitality industry is than by the hospitality show that you put on. And this year is going to be right in our backyard in Miami, Florida. Get us a little bit excited about what we can expect at this year's, fourth annual, right? This is our fourth show, hospitality show.
So we started in Vegas, went to San Antonio. We're in Denver last year. A lot of enthusiasm coming out of Denver for the content. And then what's unique about the hospitality show is it's really the only conference in the industry with a focus on operations and how operations is driving profitability. So there's terrific enthusiasm, and people are looking forward to being in Miami, coming together in Q4, all segments of the industry represented. So we'll have the brands, we'll have management companies, owners, service providers, suppliers, independent hotels also play an important role in the industry. So we're about to open registration, and that'll really kickstart the focus on November 2 to 4 in Miami.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. We're hoping to go 4 for 4 on covering the hospitality show, especially with it being right there in our backyard. Kevin, we know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today on some of these important initiatives, and hopefully we'll see you in Miami in just a few months.
Hopefully I'll have something else on.
All right. All right. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Ryan Embry here, live at NYU IHIF 2026, here with Jan, National Director, Hospitality Analytics at CoStar. Jan, you were just on a panel. Thanks for taking the time. Jump off and speak with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
State of the state, love the name. Obviously, you're a North Star of hospitality data out there, Jan. Revised forecasts just came out. Talk to us a little bit about those points that you were sharing with the audience today.
Yeah, so we're suggesting that RevPAR this year is going to grow 2.8%, which is very different from the way we looked at the world at the Alice Hotel Investment Conference. First quarter performance was much, much stronger than we had expected, than the publicly traded companies had expected, the brands or the REITs. And a lot of them have revised their year-end forecast up. So, we followed suit. Now, most of them just revised their forecast by the outperformance of Q1. But we're suggesting, no, there's momentum. So we actually took our forecast up by a lot more to 2.8%, 2% driven by ADR and 0.8% by occupancy, which is really good to see because it implies that demand is outpacing supply.
Yeah.
So we get occupancy gains and then some pricing power.
Love to see that. I mean, we were here a year ago with Amanda, who was talking about trying to decipher through the noise. A lot of noise right now, but great to see the momentum with those revisions. And so important to have those revisions because the landscape can change ever so rapidly, as you know. But talking about the supply, talk to us a little bit, go into a little bit more in depth. And then obviously every market is different. What markets right now are running a little bit hot on supply?
Yeah, so national forecast for supply growth is 0.4%. Not a whole lot, right? The long run average is 1.6, so we're well below that. The number of rooms in construction used to be between, 150, 160,000. It's now 140,000. So it's sort of staying there. It was just so expensive to get anything done. And interest rates are still high and could go higher. Who knows? We're not making interest rate forecasts, but, there's definitely no longer this idea of, we should cut, interest rates twice this year or so. I think those days are gone, And so now the question is, okay, so where are people getting things done? And you can look at it by markets. So a couple of them are your usual suspects. So Nashville, very strong. Dallas, Houston, Denver, Phoenix. So those are markets sort of in the smile state, sort of in the Sun Belt, that still get a lot of people moving there. And, migration determines, the economic performance. Yeah. And so we're seeing a lot more room supply growth there. But there are just a lot of markets where it's very, very hard to get anything done because of that higher cost of construction and of the higher interest rate. So I would single out those markets, but overall the picture is rather muted on the supply side. So what that means then for existing owners is the time to renovate is right now. So, because you want to be the new kid on the block, quote unquote, the new hotel. There's not a lot of new competition coming. This is the time to renovate and really put your best foot forward.
100%. And, one of the other topics we talked about, or you talked about rather on stage, was segments right now. Luxury doing very, very well, leading the way. Obviously, a lot of bifurcation, that K-shaped economy. What are you seeing across the segments right now?
Yeah, there are no wrong answers in luxury, right? Luxury last year was the winner. This year is the winner. We're projecting, very, very healthy RevPAR growth, double of what we're saying for the nation. We think the luxury class can materialize. And then what's really nice to see is that for upscale, upper mid-scale, there's also RevPAR growth there, which we hadn't seen last year. And to me, that speaks to the strength really of the American economy, but it sort of permeates throughout all income classes. Now, the exception was, and unfortunately will be likely, the economy sector. Now, even there, we're suggesting RevPAR is growing, but it's just, 0.8%. Call that flat for all intents and purposes.
International travel, too. Obviously, World Cup on the heels of this. What are you? Any interesting data points there you want to share just right ahead of the America 250 and World Cup?
There are two very different vibes coming from the panel that I was on. Adam Sachs, prior to us presenting, was talking about, international inbound is really still quite a bit lower than it was in 2019. But the gentleman from the NTTO, the National Travel Tourism Organization, was like, no, we're projecting rock and roll, really strong growth of international inbound. The truth is probably going to somewhere in between. This year, World Cup is going to drive a lot of international travelers. What I'm wondering about, though, is are some of those travelers basically stealing from 2025 and from 2027? And are they saying, let's not go in 25, let's go in 26? And then when next year comes around, they're like, we just went to the US, and not go in 27 either. So I just hope that the more positive spin from the government comes true, and not that we're just sort of packing everything into this year and then international inbound is going to deteriorate.
Yeah. So many interesting data points. Any one in particular you have your eyes on where, obviously we love a nice rosy outlook and try to look for opportunities through all of the data that's out there, but any ones that are like unexpected data points or something that you're at least keeping an eye on right now?
Yeah, so there are a couple, but the one that I'm really focused on is Consumer Price Index. Everything is getting more expensive. And so that means that hotels will see their costs increase. And the big question then is, how much of that cost increase can they pass on to the customer? I just told you that our ADR forecast for this year is 2%, and inflation is going to be 3.5 or something? It's going to be much more than that, outpacing that. So that's really the crux, and I think that's what we here at NYU to talk to owners and investors and management companies and figure out, okay, So how can we keep our margins expanding even maybe? How do you do that in this environment where top line growth maybe not keeping pace with inflation? So the CPI number is really something I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, pretty challenging time right now when it comes to margins in hospitality that we, again, trying to suss out and figure out here. What are those maybe opportunistic data points that you're seeing that you're saying, this is really good, maybe unexpected on the other end of the spectrum?
Yeah, I think the Americans are wealthier than they ever have been. And Adam Sachs has this fascinating data point where he shows that the middle class in America is shrinking, but part of it is because a lot more people are rich.
Yeah.
So people are moving up the income chain, and that allows them then to spend more money on experiences. It's very clear that people favor experiences over goods. Yes. And we are right in that sweet spot.
That continues to be the experience over stuff. We love to see that. And then you're kind of here celebrating anniversary birthday of your podcast. Is it? You're usually typically used to being the host, not so much the guest. So thank you. Tell us a little bit more and maybe where our hotel audience can find the insights that you provide.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. So we have our own podcast. My colleague Isaac Colazo from STR and myself get together once a month. It's called Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast. And 3 years ago at Juniors across the street over cheesecake, we sort of hatched the idea. And so now we're, almost 30 episodes into it. And we get together once a month and we just sort of riff on the data, and hopefully you can join us.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, Jan, thank you so much. Appreciate you. A very busy time. Appreciate you stopping by and talking to us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Hello, everyone. Ryan Embry here with The Sweet Spot. We are live at NYU IHIF 2026 here with Larry Kukulik, President and CEO of BWH Hotels. Larry, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here on The Sweet Spot.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invitation and for allowing me to share some thoughts with regard to the success of BWH Hotels.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover because you got a lot going on right now. But let's start with this event, right? NYU IHIF. A lot of major brands here. What does a successful NYU look like for you and your team?
To us, a successful NYU is interacting with developers and investors such that they're aware of what BWH has become. We're now 18 brands, over 4,000 hotels in over 100 countries and territories, from premium economy up to luxury hotels. We acquired World Hotels about 6 years ago. And so it really is continuing to educate about the possibilities of their associating with BWH Hotels, because we would be singularly focused on their success if they partner with us.
And you're also on a powerhouse panel tomorrow, the Executive Exchange, Hospitality Performance Strategies for Success. Give our audience a little bit of sneak peek of what you're going to be talking about on stage.
Well, we're going to be talking about, of course, the economy, near-term as well as long-term projections for what that looks like. We'll be talking about the importance of loyalty programs.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about the impact of really the economy and things like labor, insurance, and how we as brands need to focus on the success of our hotels by offering them programs to really offset that impact on net RevPAR.
Yeah, and I'm sure one of the subjects and topics that we brought up on your panel, certainly something we talk about these hospitality events, is AI and technology, right? And we had the privilege of having SVP and your CTO, Bill Ryan, on at the hospitality show a couple months in October, gave us a little bit of lay of the land when it came to AI and technology. How do you feel personally that this technology is really changing the way that travelers choose hotels, but also how they have their hotel experience, their guest experience?
Sure. So the first thing we're doing is we're reinvesting in our .com as well as our app. And we want them to be easy to use, intuitive, but we also want to make sure they have content that convinces guests when they're shopping that our hotels will provide them kind of that customization and personalization, because it's not about a commodity, a hotel room. It's about all those things that we can offer. By way of example, we're partnering with an AI agency to kind of harvest content with regard to where our hotels are located in those communities. At the same time, we'll take that harvested content and we'll filter it through our hoteliers who live in those communities and create the content that will be the AI answer when somebody's looking for a place to stay. And they'll know that we want them to have the best possible time while they're in that community, not just staying with us as a hotel. We recognize that people don't want just a stay, they want really a journey.
Yeah, something that we aspire in hospitality to provide that, not just a hotel stay, but an experience, right? And we talked to Joel Park about the power of storytelling and how that can play a component in one of the best stories, obviously, that you just had a really exciting announcement with is America 250 and the story of this great nation. So talk to us a little bit about that partnership and what BWH Hotels is doing with America 250.
Well, we are a sponsor of America 250, and we're encouraging our hoteliers to embrace the 250th anniversary of the birth of our nation. And part of that is not just USA 250, we also have the 100th anniversary of Route 66. We have hotels that have been with us, believe it or not. We have a hotel that's been with us 75 years. Wow. And it speaks to the heritage of our brand. So we'll be leaning into the history of this great country. At the same time, we'll be leaning into the history of our great brand. And encouraging people to travel and see the United States and all that it has to offer, no matter where you go. And the beauty of our hotels we have 2,200 of them in North America, and wherever they're going to go, we want them to know that we have a hotel that will meet their travel needs, such that they can experience really the 250th anniversary of USA.
Yeah, it's a really exciting partnership. Right at an inflection point with the World Cup as well. So introducing maybe some international travel also to the brand and the nation. You're a great follow on LinkedIn. I encourage our audience, if you haven't, make sure you follow Larry. But one of the things you're reflecting on your North American regional conferences that you've done up to this point in 2026, and you quoted to say that you want best BWH hotels to become the most welcoming brand in the world. What does that mean to you, and how is your team working to achieve that?
Well, welcoming means that we're gracious hosts, but it also means that we're, I'll call it, easy to do business with, understanding, being flexible, and recognizing that we are somebody you'd want to be partners with. Whenever anyone walks into a hotel, we should tell them, welcome, we're glad you're here, by way of example. But I used to think of it that way in terms of being gracious host and everything that happens at the hotel. But when I think of welcoming, I also want to think about our new .com and app. Again, it's that ease of use and personalization, so that when you go there, we know it's you, and we want to help you make good decisions with regard to travel. So welcoming is about ease of .com, the app. We're redoing our loyalty program. I think Joel probably talked to you about that. And we want the loyalty program to be welcoming as well. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that when you interact with us, you'll know how many points you have. You'll know they never expire. You'll know that you can use them to buy down the price of a room at any point, that you don't have to have as many points for a full stay to leverage those points. It's a value of the program. And of course, welcoming, I always lean into the importance of being not just a gracious host, but somebody that appreciates our guests. To me, that's welcoming, because you have to recognize that people, if they're traveling with their families, it's something that you want to leave a terrific impression on them and their family. And you also want them to know that we appreciate that they've spent their hard-earned money staying with us. To me, that's being appreciative, gracious hosts. And that's part of the welcoming. The welcoming doesn't just happen when they enter. Right. Welcoming has to be entire stay.
So key, yeah, and the brands that kind of make that connection with their travelers, especially in a time where, we just talked about in this interview, AI technology, there's way more places become disconnected, to find that connection, that human-to-human connection, very, very important right now. So as we wrap up the interview, obviously at these events, we're always, whether it's the hospitality data we're looking into, whether it's a conversation, we're always trying to take a glimpse into the future, trying to predict that future, Larry. What do you see? What's your vision for the future of BWH hotels?
Well, people will always want to travel. And for us, if we can become that welcoming brand that appreciates our guests, we will build that loyalty. When we build that loyalty, that program will grow. Our revenue delivery, brand direct, will grow, which is the lowest cost for us in terms of that reservation for our hoteliers. But I think what I would also offer to you is we're also very focused on thoughtful growth. And what that means is if you grow your loyalty program, you also want to make sure you have hotels that are in locations where guests want to go, be it London, be it Rome, be it Frankfurt, be it Bangkok, no matter where it is around the world. And so, we have a focused goal of 5,000 hotels, which means we will grow thoughtfully, but with our guests in mind. And because when we have a hotel join us, our sole focus is the success of that hotel, as well as having a quality hotel where guests want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we wish you nothing but success. Hopefully, maybe you can join the Sweet Spot when that 5,000th hotel opens, and we can celebrate that together. But in the meantime, thank you, Larry, for taking the time out of your day to join us here on the Sweet Spot.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Very much appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.